Hi, I'm Wes Harmelink, Director of Product Development here at Harbor Freight Tools. Today I'm speaking to you from our state-of-the-art QA lab here in Calabasas, California, and we're going to discuss the starting procedure on our new 30-gallon truck bed compressor. This Harbor Freight compressor boasts a maximum of 180 psi. It puts out 18 CFM at 90 psi. It comes equipped with our commercial-grade 14 horsepower 420 cc Predator engine. Also comes equipped with a industrial-grade cast iron 2-stage pump and a 30-gallon ASME certified tank. It's very important that we get the proper oil and fuel levels in the unit. So first we're going to oil the pump with a standard non-detergent 30-weight oil, also found at Harbor Freight Tools. It's also extremely critical that we get the correct amount of oil in the pump. The Harbor Freight compressor is designed with an easy-to-see sight glass, and it's critical that the oil level is in the center of the red circle on the sight glass. Now we're going to talk about properly filling the engine with oil. There are two main considerations to take into account when filling the Predator engine with oil. The first is these engines are equipped with a low oil sensor shutdown. That means if you don't have the proper oil fill level, these engines are not going to run. So it's very important that you get the oil level filled to the top two threads of the oil fill port. The second is a type of oil you're going to use in this compressor, and that depends on the environmental conditions this compressor is going to be used in. It's very important that you consult your engine manual for both the type of oil you're going to use and the oil fill level. When gassing the engine, it's important to remember that all Predator engines are designed to run on standard 87 octane fuel. 10% ethanol blend is okay, but this will not run on E85. Also, when gassing the engine, it's important not to overfill the tank. All the engines are equipped with a fuel strainer and a red indicator to let you know when you've reached max fuel capacity. Lastly, to make sure you have a proper seal, all the Predator engines are designed with an automotive click style feature, so listen for the click to make sure you have a good seal. There are two ways to start the engine. This engine is equipped with a manual recoil backup starter, but the preferred method is the electric start. The electric starter is designed to run on a standard 12-volt, minimum 300 cold cranking amps. Depending on which model compressor you have, you can either hook the battery directly up to the solenoid on the electric starter motor, and on newer models, we have an easy-to-access terminal block. Make sure to reference your compressor manual for the proper wire gauge and hookup. Now that we have the compressor and the engine oil and gassed, we're ready to start the unit. Before we start, there's a couple critical procedures we need to follow. First, it's very important to make sure that we don't have any back pressure in the tank, so we need to drain the tank to 0 psi before each start. Do that by moving the ball valve to the open position. Then we'll want to monitor the pressure gauge in front of the unit to make sure the tank reads 0 pressure. After we drain the pressure, move the ball valve back to the closed position. Now that we have the pressure drained from the tank, we need to put the pilot valve in the open position. The pilot valve disengages the pump from the engine so that there's no back pressure on the engine when starting it. Before we start the engine, we want to make sure that we have the engine controls in the proper configuration. The first thing we're going to do is move the choke lever to the full choke position. Next, we're going to move the fuel valve into the on position. And it's important to note that this compressor comes equipped with an automatic throttle. You should not tamper with the throttle lever on this unit. Now that we have the engine controls in place, we have the pilot valve in the open position, we're ready to go ahead and start this compressor. It's important not to crank the starter motor more than 3 to 5 seconds per attempt. Depending on the weather, it may take a little longer to get started. If it does, make sure to move the choke lever to the midway point so that you don't flood the engine. And now we're ready to start the compressor. As soon as you hear the engine kick on, slowly move the choke lever to the run position. Now go ahead and flip your pilot valve to the closed position and give the compressor a few minutes to build pressure. When you pick up your Harbor Freight 30-gallon Central Pneumatic compressor, even though it comes standard with a pallet and a crate, it's important to properly secure it so that it doesn't tip over in transportation. Thank you for taking the time today to review the starting procedure of our new Central Pneumatic 30-gallon truck bed compressor. All of our compressors come standard with a quick start guide as a quick reference for all the steps and procedures that we covered today. If for whatever reason you're still having technical difficulties with your unit, please don't hesitate to call the Predator hotline where we have dedicated experts on standby to answer your questions. You can reach them at 1-800-520-0882.